Monster fish are not pets. They're a lifestyle choice for the big and the bold. Today we're ranking giant wet gremlins based on how fast they'll destroy your tank, destroy your wallet, and maybe potential tank mates. Some are chill, some are actually serial killers. Either way, you are not ready. Let's get to it. There's owning a monster fish, and then there's choosing chaos on purpose. Enter the Red Terror, also known scientifically as Mesoheros festae. But honestly, you could just call it your future emotional damage and it would still check out. This fish doesn't just have intense coloration, it pulls up serving flaming hot Cheetos aesthetic 24 hours a day, especially the females who, no joke, turn such a violent shade of red that you kind of start questioning if your tank water is secretly made out of Kool-Aid. Now, you better be ready to dedicate a tank that's at least 125 gallons. Not because the Red Terror needs to be comfy, oh no, but because they'll treat smaller tanks like gladiator arenas. You can't just toss them in a community tank and pray. They will absolutely declare themselves emperor. They'll enforce border control, and they'll exile or execute anyone who questions their rule, especially when they're breeding. I mean, they go full final boss in Souls game mode, yeah. Other fish, consider them lore characters whose cutscenes got deleted. RIP Shadow the Erdtree. Anyways, people out here thinking they're gonna get a spicy centerpiece fish when they're really just adopting a sentient rage issue. For these reasons, and because I don't want anyone DMing me crying about their missing tank mates, Red Terror comfortably flops its dramatic self into the middle at C tier. Oscars! These guys are honestly, peak emotionally manipulative pets. People call them wet dogs, but there's so much more than that. These dudes recognize your face, throw tantrums if you don't feed them on schedule, and sometimes, and I mean this in the least scientific way possible, they will sit there and judge ya. Yeah, you haven't known true shame until your Oscar watches you trip over your power cord and visibly shakes its head. I'm not kidding. Oscars will straight up redecorate your tank like a Pinterest mom who just discovered cottagecore. Rocks, plants, carefully placed driftwood, all gone. They treat tank layout the way toddlers treat a neat playroom. Complete and utter disrespect. And you're gonna need a tank that's at least 75 gallons for a single Oscar, and honestly, they'll still give you the side eye about the real estate. Now, they're hardy little drama queens. They'll survive a lot of beginner mistakes, you know, like messed up water changes, questionable tank mates, but they draw the line at tiny fish. Small enough to fit in their mouth? Congrats, you just fed them an accidental $15 snack. Oscars aren't mean though, they're just constantly hungry and bad at impulse control. These fish are as close as you can get to an aquatic dog, and they slam dunk themselves into the monster fish S tier where these icons belong. Jack Dempseys are like the human equivalent of someone who's hot and problematic and you still let him ruin your life anyway. These fish are stunning. Crazy metallic blues and purples that shimmer harder than a 2014 Tumblr edit, but oh my. The mood swings. They're worse than Twitter after a celebrity says literally anything. Yeah, give them anything less than 55 to 75 gallons and you'll basically trigger their villain origin story. Even in a big tank though, Jack Dempseys are unstable at best. I mean, some days they're chill, gliding around being gorgeous, but on other days they're reenacting gladiator scenes with anything that dares breathe in their direction. And if they get bullied by something meaner, yeah, they fold so fast. It's like watching someone talk tough online and then block you when you reply. Also, a stressed Jack Dempsey loses its color fast. 1 second they're sparkling and the next they're pale, washed out, and looking like a sad pastel meme page. It's genuinely tragic and somehow still their own fault and deserves to sit and seethe in the C tier. Flagtails are the MVPs of any monster tank, hands down. Not because they're dramatic, not because they're secretly plotting murder, but because they're literally just here for the entertainment and snacks. Semiprocolitis Taeniurus, if you're feeling fancy, but honestly, Flagtail is just way easier because it sounds like the name of an indie band that you'd find on TikTok at 2 a.m. Yeah. These fish grow up to 12, almost up to 14 inches, which, sure, that sounds kind of scary until you realize they have the aggression level of a half-asleep capybara. They spend most of their time just gliding around the tank eating algae like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet, and absolutely not caring about the cichlid drama unfolding 2 inches away from them. Unlike certain algae eaters who turn lazy and start freeloading once they get big enough, Sailfin Plecos, yeah, Flagtails actually pull their own weight. You'll want at least 100 gallerinos if you're serious about keeping them, and honestly, more is better, because they thrive in little squads. Watching a group of Flagtails zip around your tank while your Oscar contemplates interior decoration terrorism, that's peak serotonin, baby. For being hard-working, peaceful legends that mind their business harder than a boomer at a Gen Z party, Flagtails take a comfy, deserved A-tier spot. Arowanas. They're basically the final boss of the monster fish world, not because they're aggressive maniacs, but because they carry themselves with that rich villain who's too good for this world energy. People literally call them water dragon because, well, they glide through the tank with that ancient regal aura, like they not just own the tank, but also they own your soul. They're not here for your tiny tank setups either. Depending on the species, especially the silver arowana, they can grow up to 3 feet long. That is not a typo. That's a small child in your tank. Yeah, swimmingly and silently judging your tank choices. Also, this is not a drill. They will jump out of your tank if you don't cover it properly. Like, we're talking 2 to 3 feet into the air. Just yeet, no hesitation. Yeah, imagine doing a water change, turning your back for 1 freaking second and hearing a wet slap on the floor behind you. Don't believe me? Check out this clip from Nat Geo Animals. They will literally jump out of the river to eat prey. Oh, and tank mates, yeah, good luck. If it's smaller than the arowana's mouth, it's gonna get inhaled faster than a McDonald's fry in a hot car. Yeah, you know they don't make it home. You want sturdy, big fish that aren't flashy or annoying, or the arowana's gonna treat them like Uber Eats and float into a solid B tier. Go arowanas. You ever meet a creature so cute and so terrifying at the same time that your brain just kind of glitches out? That's the Mbu Puffer. These absolute units can grow up to 26 inches, and they pull it off with the audacity of someone who gets banned from an aquarium store because they accidentally tried to smuggle snails out in their hoodie. Mbu Puffers aren't just big, they're scary smart. Like, they know feeding schedules, they know who you are, and they will stare at you across the room with that, hey, you forgot second breakfast energy. But all that intelligence comes with an insane need for clean water and heavy filtration. Otherwise, you're basically brewing them a toxic soup, and they will look at you with disappointment before dropping dead out of pure spite. Their diet? They need crunchy, shell-based foods like clams, crabs, and snails to keep their teeth trimmed. If you slack off and their teeth overgrow and suddenly, you're gonna be Googling how to perform dental surgery on a fish at 2 o'clock in the morning and questioning why you got this monster in the first place. Honestly, full-grown Mbu Puffers are rare in home aquariums because most people wildly underestimate how much space and commitment that they need. Thus, Mbu Puffers find themselves living in the C tier. Flowerhorns are the one dude you went to high school with who peaked early, got weirdly obsessed with gym selfies, and now has a full sleeve tattoo of their own name. They're pure main character energy, but like in the most chaotic way possible. These fish aren't natural. They're hybrids. They're man-made for that big old forehead cook bump and eye-searing colors. I mean, they look incredible. Like Lisa Frank designed a fish during a Red Bull-fueled all-nighter. But they're also the definition of territorial. And when I say territorial, I mean they're gonna fight their own reflection for hours territorial. It's hilarious until you realize they're stressing themselves out and wrecking their fins. So because of that, flowerhorns thrive best solo, because no fish, and I mean no fish, deserves the psychological warfare of sharing a tank with one. Even fingers aren't safe. They'll come for you too. They aren't bluffing. These guys will straight up bite you during feeding like you're part of the enrichment program and firmly secure their spot in D tier. Oh, you think Mbu Puffers are bad? Fahaka Puffers said, hold my beer. These clunky little disasters grow up to 18 inches, and while they start off all cute and friendly when they're young, it's a trap. It's always a trap. Admiral Akbar knows that they mature into tanks of pure murder energy. Their diet is a full crustacean and mollusk feast. Shrimp, clams, snails, a red lobster buffet. Anything crunchy, they're down. You need to keep those beaver teeth in check, or again, enjoy explaining to your coworkers why you're booking emergency dental appointments for your fish on your lunch break. And don't even think about putting them in a planted tank unless you enjoy expensive heartbreak. Fahakas will tear through plants and decor like an unsupervised toddler in a Lego store. Armored decorations only. Rocks, wood, things they can't absolutely annihilate with their little rage bodies. I mean, even the ones that seem chill can flip a switch and start tearing fins off their tank mates in the middle of the night. There's no warning. One moment everyone's vibing, and then the next, unsolicited homicide. For being adorable until they unlock their true final form as aquatic serial killers, the Fahaka Puffer holds down a slightly terrifying D-tier placement. Giant gouramis. They're honestly that kid from elementary school who hit their growth spurt way too early and then spent the next 5 years looking bored in every group photo. Like, these fish get massive, up to 28 inches, which is less pet and more house guests who can't take a hint. And somehow, the bigger they get, the more they develop that iconic pouty face that makes them look like they permanently are done with your nonsense. Giant gourami absolutely carry "I didn't ask to be here" energy every time they swim past your reflection. They'll eat anything remotely edible. Veggies, pellets, protein, whatever you can toss in. They're not picky, but they eat with the chaotic energy of someone who's been left unsupervised in an all-you-can-eat buffet. You think you're feeding a majestic beast, but really you're fueling a floating garbage disposal with an attitude. Male giant gourami, though? Different breed. Territorial as heck. They're the type to hold a grudge for weeks because someone swam a little too close to their spot 3 Tuesdays ago. Housing a male is basically living with a passive-aggressive roommate who leaves threatening post-it notes on everything. You're gonna need at least 180 gallons or you're gonna get that fish staring at you with visible contempt while plotting to destroy your filter system one passive-aggressive bump at a time. Females are usually less aggressive, and the larger the tank you house them in, the lesser the risk. Giant gourami throw themselves into the B tier with all the grace of a kid fake feigning in gym class. Bocoruti Cichlids, also known as yellow cheek cichlids because apparently someone decided giant peaceful golden boy didn't fit on a name tag. Oh man, these guys are straight up legends. They grow to about 14 to 16 inches, which sounds kind of intimidating until you realize that they're operating on pure cottagecore energy. We're talking no unnecessary fights, no high school lunchroom drama, just big, gentle golden beans floating around minding their own business. And compare that to most large cichlids who are out here throwing hands over gravel patches. Yeah, see, Bocorutis, they prefer to lurk among plants and driftwood. If your tank looks like an aesthetic Pinterest board, they're gonna thrive. If your tank looks like you rage quitted halfway through aquascaping though, well, they'll vibe anyway because they've got the patience of a saint and they're honestly just the soft boys of the monster fish world, and we needed that balance. You throw in a Bocoruti and suddenly the whole tank just feels like a lo-fi hip-hop beat stream with a cozy rain sound behind it. They just radiate that energy. No flexing, no drama. As long as your other fish aren't too small, you know? Just being large and soft and probably judging the violent fish from a safe distance. Truly, Bocoruti cichlids plant themselves firmly into the A tier like the stable kings they are. Severums are what you get when you wish for a discus, but you still don't want to sell your kidneys to afford the therapy bills. Most people call them the poor man's discus, and honestly that's kind of rude, because severums aren't budget fish, they're actually secretly royalty, pretending to be commoners for the plot. They grow up to a manageable 8 to 10 inches, which in monster fish terms is basically fun-sized, but they ain't here for messy drama. Severums are that rare monster fish you can actually trust in a semi-peaceful community tank. Provided, of course, you don't throw snack-sized tank mates inside and expect miracles. They just mind their business, eat whatever you feed them, pellets, frozen live foods, and probably that lettuce you forgot about in the fridge too, and then they do it all while looking way too pretty to deal with your nonsense. Their colors are this soft, shimmering blend of pastels that low-key just slaps harder than any Instagram sunset filter you've ever used. They're calm, they're classy, and they're basically the cottagecore queens of South American cichlids. No one is starting wars when a severum's in the room. They bring the mood down to a peaceful lo-fi beat real quick. They float effortlessly way up into the S tier. No fuss, no drama. The epitome of a gentle giant. Senegal Bichirs are actually prehistoric weirdos who just refuse to evolve because frankly they just didn't have to. These things have been around since dinosaurs were doing their thing, and the whole motto is just, I survived 5 extinction events. You think I'm worried about your tiny aquarium drama? They max out at around 12 to 14 inches, breathing air straight from the atmosphere because oxygen diffusers are for amateurs. Apparently. You'll see them swimming up for gulps of air like little aquatic grandpas taking big ol' I'm tired of this sighs every 10 minutes. Behaviorally, Senegal Bichirs are pretty chill if you don't have any tiny fish fluttering around like snacks on parade. They're not aggressive in like a Fight Club way, they're more like old cats that occasionally swipe at each other whenever they catch each other around, you know, just before fully waking up. Does that make sense? If a fish fits in their mouth, sure, it's gonna be dinner. Otherwise, they just swim near the bottom of the tank looking like broken AI-generated salamanders. They paddle into A tier, and they absolutely refuse to apologize for it. Bala Sharks are the definition of looks chill, lives in absolute chaos. People see them as like these tiny little silver darts at the pet store and they're like, oh cute, I'll take 3. Fast forward a year and those 3 are now borderline torpedoes, each hitting 12 to 14 inches and demanding an entire swimming track field for themselves. Bala sharks don't walk. They do not jog. They absolutely speed run the perimeter of your tank 24/7. And now here's the crazy thing. They're schooling fish, and not in the like optional study group you ghost on way. No. Bala sharks must be in groups of 5 or more. Anything less and they get paranoid, anxious, and start acting like unhinged conspiracy theorists who think the tank heater is out to get them. When kept alone or even in small groups, they stress themselves into weird aggressive behavior, and it's honestly really tragic to watch. So to house them properly, and that's the only way you should be doing it, you're looking at least a 125-gallon tank. Bare minimum. They need open swimming space the way influencers need that fake Airbnb to flex their lifestyle. If they don't have it, everything falls apart in seconds. Despite their cardio-obsessed energy, Bala sharks are actually super peaceful when kept correctly. They just want to chill, zoom, and panic in circles when they hear the vacuum cleaner. They soar straight into the A tier like the silver flash mobs they are. Jaguar Cichlid, or Jaguar Cichlid if you're in the UK. They've got this kind of energy that would get them banned from 3 different college campuses for escalating minor disputes into full-blown international incidents. They grow up to 16 to 24 inches of pure muscle, teeth, and unchecked aggression. When they're young, they kind of gaslight you into thinking they're sweet. They float around looking all speckled and chill, and then puberty hits, and suddenly they're threatening your canister filter, starting turf wars with tank decor. And you're no longer keeping a fish. You're now hosting an aquatic mafia boss and paying rent to him. There is absolutely no keeping a Jaguar Cichlid in a normal-sized tank with roommates unless you enjoy watching slow burn homicides happen in real time. You'll need a 300+ gallon tank just to try and make them tolerate other fish, and even then it's 50-50 whether they'll tolerate them or just decide one night to purge their entire neighborhood. These demons stomp themselves furiously into the E tier. Listen to me, Peacock Bass are literally just tanks with fins. They hit up to 30 inches in captivity, and they radiate the same energy as that dude at the gym slamming weights around purely for attention. They love live prey initially, but if you work with them, they can be convinced that frozen shrimp and expensive pellets are a suitable replacement. But expect a learning curve. They are high maintenance without the self-awareness. They're surprisingly chill once grown and mostly lurking like, don't start none, won't be none. But don't get cocky. Small fish are still gonna get hoovered the second they slip up. Peacock bass are like that bro who's generally fine until someone brings up KD ratios and then it's like full gloves off smack talk. They absolutely require a god tier filtration system and pristine water because these dudes eat a lot and they're not above poisoning themselves with their own waste if you slack off. For being absolute units who somehow balance predatory instinct with low-key vibes, peacock bass flex themselves firmly into the B tier. The Gulpher Catfish is honestly just like a fever dream of a fish. It exists purely to eat first, think later. No strategy, no fear, just swallow the other fish whole. They can and will attempt to swallow fish as big as themselves, and somehow their stomach stretches enough to allow it, because apparently physics took the day off. They're not aggressive in like a fighty way either, they just see something, open their void mouth, and whoop, it's gone. Decorations? What decorations? Anything not bolted down gets either destroyed or knocked over by their slow-mo bowling ball of a body. They're slow, they're lazy, and they're absolutely ridiculous, and yet somehow they're still endearing if you like cursed, mildly chaotic tank setups. For being absolute goblin kings of the fish world, Gulpher Catfish waddle their way into the F tier. Probably trying to eat the tier list itself as they go. Florida Alligator Gar. These are the fish you get when you decide your life's going too smoothly and you need to introduce some medieval chaos energy into your living room. These hulks grow to 2 to 3 feet, even in captivity, which is like, yeah, that might seem manageable until you're Googling how to reinforce my floor from my 600-gallon aquarium. They're basically living fossils, older than half the species we think are ancient, swimming around like armored swamp dragons who just didn't get the memo about evolution. They can live for decades too, not like, oh cool, a 5-year commitment. retirement. No, decades. This fish will be staring you down when you're 20 years into your mortgage and wondering why you have back pain. Owning one is literally signing up for a decades-long situationship with a lurking, scaly apex predator who judges you for forgetting water changes. Now, behaviorally, they're lazy until they're not. 90% of the time, they're chilling hard, like a retired mob boss enjoying coffee on a porch. But provoke them, feed them wrong, stick a fish in their space, well, full swamp goblin rage. Teeth out, consequences be damned. You better give them room, too. Tanks over 8 feet long are not a luxury. They're mandatory, unless you want your fish practicing Tokyo Drift against the glass. Florida alligator gars float into the C tier. Dangerous if disrespected, impressive if you got the emotional and, well, let's be honest, the financial bandwidth. Datnoids, aka tigerfish for the dramatic stripes, are those edgy kids in anime who keep fidgeting in the corner because they're plotting 3 moves ahead. At least that's what they think. These fish are straight up twitchy in the most hilarious way possible. They literally wiggle, they side shuffle, they do little fake outs when stalking prey. If they wore clothes, it'd be a leather jacket with "Trust no one" written across the back. They grow pretty slow unless you keep up regular feeding. Starve them even a little bit and they'll start giving you that forgotten lunchbox kid energy. Yeah, you know. Sulky, thin, slightly scary. Feed them often though and they will bulk up into solid units who patrol your tank looking bored, but beautiful. Now, Datnoids are fine with calm tank mates, but you know, oh man, I will say they hate other Datnoids, like viscerally. If you think you're setting up a cute matching pair, nope, you just organized a live-action Tiger King sequel and forgot to tell PETA. They'll posture, they'll flare, and they will throw more attitude than a subtweet war on Twitter. Given that you can have them get along with others, not their own, they swim into B tier. Edgy, but manageable if you read the warning labels. Sailfin Plecos start out tricking you. You see a little 2-inch armored baby sucker fish cleaning up algae like an unpaid intern and you're like, wow, helpful and cute. But fast forward 6 months and you've got an 18 to 24-inch tank destroying kaiju that poops more than the guy selling you gut cleansers on the TikTok shop. They are absolute waste machines. Heavy bioload producers doesn't even begin to describe it. You're not just getting a fish, you're adopting a full-time filtration challenge. Hope you enjoy vacuuming gravel every other day, King. Also, surprise, they grow out of their helpful algae cleaner phase real quick. Adult sailfins are freeloaders who would rather munch on driftwood and gnaw veggies and toss side-eyes at real work like they're unionizing for better tank conditions. Cleaning algae? It's ancient history. But they're one saving grace. They're built like little medieval tanks. Full armor plating, no nonsense. Most aggressive fish won't even bother trying to mess with a full-grown sailfin because biting them is basically like chewing on Legos. Not fun. For being messy, unhelpful, but low-key iconic living rocks, Sailfin Plecos drift lazily into the C tier. Hardy survivors who will turn your tank into a messy sitcom whether you like it or not. Black wolffish are the aquatic equivalent of someone who listens exclusively to metalcore playlists, has a 1,000-yard stare, and occasionally snaps and punches drywall. They grow up to 18 inches, and every inch of that is pure unpredictable chaos. Ambush predators by design, they'll chill in the same spot for what feels like forever, giving big NPC loading screen energy, and then out of nowhere, they strike faster than the time you tried to close 15 pop-up ads before your laptop froze. It's like being in a horror movie where the killer's also your roommate. Mood swings? Oh, baked into the software. Some black wolffish are chill introverts, vibing and lurking and doing nothing much, but others, straight up anime villains with an internal monologue about taking over the tank. You won't know which one you have until it's either peacefully napping or rearranging tankmate's anatomy. Yeah, tankmates must be huge, tough, and literally no dreams of personal space because, well, black wolffish respect no boundaries whatsoever. You think beefy equals survival? Well, everyone else is a snack or a target. So because of that, black wolffish snarl their way into the D tier. Not for the lack of coolness, but because they turn into crime documentaries faster than you can say, oops. Wolf cichlids. Parachromis dovii if you're nasty. These guys are what happens when you give a cichlid boss fight stats and absolutely no chill. These fish are 28 inches of pure hate swimming in a tank. Nothing in their soul craves peace. Nothing in their code allows friendship. They're born with one setting, dominate or die trying. Male wolf cichlids especially are running on final boss energy. Keeping one is less about can I make it peaceful and more about how many times am I willing to get emotionally hurt before I accept that this thing is indeed a solo act. They need 300 gallons or more to even pretend at calming down, and even then, it's dicey. You are not housing a fish, you're managing a living WMD that grows bigger, moodier, and smarter with time. Leaving them with smaller tank mates is not bad husbandry, it's unpaid live streaming for the fish version of True Crime Podcast. They howl themselves brutally into D tier. Beautiful disasters made only for the truly reckless. Hey, if you're feeling brave enough to build your own monster fish tank after this, well, good luck, Godspeed, and please, double check your lid clamps before the Arowana learns how to open doors. Smash that like button if your dream fish is a threat to national security. Drop a comment telling me which monster you would risk it all for. And hit subscribe so we can spiral into more fish chaos together. Stay unhinged, stay hydrated, and for the love of your bank account, please measure your tank first.